Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another episode of Music Biz Chat with me, Phil Aston. This is very much in connection with the Chart Watch series I did. And Music Biz Chat is a chance for me to talk about how I feel the physical music market is doing and give you my insights from my experience and also the data I see around me. And of course, the input I get from the Facebook group and all the connections we have across the Now Spinning Magazine multiverse, if you like. So it's been a while since I've done something like this, and I think it's really useful to have had a gap because what I was doing was I was giving a rundown every week of the best-selling #1 album in the UK album charts and breaking that down between CD sales and vinyl sales. And at the time when I was doing it, CD sales were about 2 to 1, sometimes 4 to 1. Now, I'll be honest, I am a massive CD fan. Now Spinning Magazine is multi-format. I am multi-format. But I'm also aware that my own buying habits are changing. Now, streaming is huge, but lots of people who collect music stream as well. It's how we discover things. And then we decide if we want to go further, we support the band by buying a physical album, either CD or vinyl. Now, what is happening is, this is the UK only. I did try and find some data for Billboard for the USA, and I found something going back to April and May, where CD sales are up by about 2.4%. So that's slightly up. So the decline has slowed down. But I think a lot of it is to do with something that's happening in the UK as well, is vinyl costs of going up. There's obviously pressing timing issues, etc. And in the UK, we have a person called 50 quid man, £50 man. I am that guy where I would go into a record shop, usually FOP, especially if I was in London, and I was going in with no particular reason to, well, do you ever need a particular reason to go into a music shop? You don't, do you? You're with your better half and she goes, oh, I'm just going to this clothes shop, and you go, oh, I'm just popping into FOP, I won't be a minute, I'm not going to buy anything. And in about an hour later, you've spent about 50 quid, usually on a handful of CDs that you didn't even know you wanted. Okay, we've all been there, everybody. We all have. But I think that 50 quid man, which is how a lot of marketing people see this guy or woman, and has changed, and he's probably, or she's becoming £10 person or £20 person or whatever, because, you know, a jar of coffee is nearly £10 and your electric bill's probably gone up from £200 a month to £500, and your mortgage has gone up, and lots of other things. And of course, there are different demographics where you're, you know, older demographics are the other side of these kind of things, and they might have more money to spend, which I might touch on later on. And for younger people still living at home, you know, or whatever, you may have some more disposable income. So it's a balance. But there's lots of different dynamics here. And so, and I'm sorry if I'm waffling a bit, but the way I feel about vinyl costs, a lot of people just come straight down on this saying they should be cheaper. They should be 15, 20 quid. Really? I mean, to a lot of young artists are pressing 50 copies. You know, they're literally crowdfunding or putting something online to say we've got 50 copies of our album available. And that's about £1,000 from my calculations, looking at some places where if I wanted to go and do that, how much it would cost. And this is a good company I looked at. It's about £9.95, 50 copies. So to sell them at £20 each, you'd break even. So you've got to sell them at £30 plus £6 postage. That's 36 quid for your vinyl album. I don't even know if that's a gatefold sleeve or inner sleeve, I don't know. So the more you press, obviously the cheaper it comes, but not that much cheaper really. But all of this is keeping the CD alive, but nevertheless, things are changing. I think in America, the CD is the perfect merch tool. You go and see a band, and on the merch table there's loads of CDs because they're probably going to be between $10, $12, whereas the vinyl album, which is harder to carry around, more likely to be damaged, is going to be $30, $40. And so people got a choice: T-shirt and a CD, or album and no T-shirt, to a program, CD, or no program. So the CDs are doing well. When I say doing well, they've levelled off after years of decline. Anyway, I'm supposed to be talking about the UK, aren't I? In the UK, and most of this is coming from Music Week, who are known to use words like surge and increased and meteoric sales, whatever. And vinyl sales have surged by 13.2% in 2023, ahead of Black Friday for quarter four. So this is the third quarter of the year as we head towards the end of the year. So vinyl sales are up by 13.2% for the first 9 months of 2023. So there are 3,952,262 vinyl albums sold during the year to the end of September. That's a year-on-year increase ahead of the 12.4% growth, which was the first part of 2023. So they are increasing. I'm not if I'd use the word surge, but they are bigger. So at 15.1%, the year-on-year increase was even bigger during the first 3 months of quarter three period. So a further 1,237,620 vinyl album sales were sold in that quarter alone. Now, vinyl sales increased by modest 2.9% in 2022. Okay, so something, they were slowing down then. And obviously I latched on to that because CD sales were also starting to turn as well. But this is two-digit growth in 2023. So it is a huge jump, really. So maybe the word surge is, for marketing speak, not a bad word this time. And there is, of course, a huge blockbuster period coming up to Christmas as well, because we've got albums from Take That, the Rolling Stones, which is going to be massive, isn't it? And Taylor Swift. So there's going to be another strong quarter as we head towards Christmas. And of course, you've got Black Friday coming up as well, November the 24th, 90 artists. You've got Joni Mitchell, Prince, The Doors, Post Malone, all exclusive vinyl editions. So all that is coming along as well. Now, the other bit I wanted to mention here is CD sales are actually down by 6.3% in the UK in 2023 to 7,270,654. So if you take the CD sales going down and the vinyl sales going up, it still means that physical sales are flat across the whole of the market, down to overall 11,365,000. And streaming now is taking on 88.5% share of the recorded music market. So physical music sales are around 12.5% in the year. I think they were about 15-ish this time last year, and towards the end of the year they always go up to about 25%. And I have to say that for me myself, I've noticed a change in what I do. And when I started the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook group, I would say it was 80-90% CD, and I only really posted what I was playing would be on CD. And looking back through the Now Spinning Magazine YouTube channel, I would say that primarily what I was reviewing and showing you were CDs and CD box sets and stuff. And there's no doubt about it that especially this year I've been featuring more vinyl releases. So what is going on even with me? And I'm also seeing this a lot more with people in my Facebook group, where more people are buying vinyl as well. I think one of the issues is that I do stream, and I'm probably not alone in this. I have a network streamer within my hi-fi, which goes through a fantastic codec, which boosts things up, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. And so I've got about, I've ripped all of my CDs into Apple Music, so they're all in the cloud, and they're all lossless, and there's probably about 90,000 tracks. Yeah, really. And I can just press random play on songs, and it's like listening to the best radio station in the universe, because it's all my stuff and I don't know what's coming on next, and something will come up and This happens a lot, actually, and I'll have to go up and have a look on the little screen to see what it is that's playing, because I don't know what it is. And then I'll pick up that album and I'll play it. But so when I decide to buy something, the issue is, this is a good example. The Jeff Beck album, the one he did with Johnny Depp. When I bought this, and you can see that's it. It's just you just open it out. The track titles are there, and the CD is squished into the sleeve at the other end. And I think this was about £12. It could have been, and it was kind of just didn't feel very special. And this has been going on for a while. I remember buying Rival Sons album, and this is, in a way, it was even worse. Just pictures of the band in the middle, and the CD, no booklet, nothing. And you could say, well, isn't that what a vinyl album used to be like? You just open a gatefold sleeve, the pictures are there, and the record came out the other end. So why am I expecting a booklet with everything? Well, I am expecting a booklet with everything, because it just feels like with a CD, that's what you get. We've moved away from the early CDs, which just had a single sheet inside. So why are we going backwards? So there's a feeling as if like, oh, we need to do a CD release, so that'll do. Don't put too much effort into it. Just keep it as cheap as possible, and we'll just put that out. I feel that this kind of presentation for the CD, in the ZZ Top one, had 3 panels, but it's still kind of like not very special, has hastened people thinking, do I really need to make the effort, or shall I just download it or stream it? Because I'm not going to sit on the sofa and you know, gauge gorgeously at these images and stuff on that. And so given that choice, sometimes I think what's happening is you think, well, that's £12-15 for that, for an extra 10 quid, or sometimes 15, or sometimes 8. The Jethro Tull was a good example. I think I'll treat myself to the vinyl album. So like Paul Rodgers, it's gatefold sleeve, polylined record, and it feels like I've bought an album. Can't believe I'm saying that in some ways, but it does, because I've just felt when I looked at the CD equivalent, I just thought, I bet that's going to be just in a dual case with hardly anything in it, or it's going to be a digipack with no booklet or anything. So it kind of put me off, and I just wondered how many people are doing that. Now, I am a multi-format man, so I've always done both, but I've just noticed a lot more people doing the same thing. I'm seeing a lot more vinyl photographs in the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook group, as more people are doing that. There are more specialist things. I buy some second-hand vinyl if I'm just popping into somewhere. I do go to the charity shops and the thrift stores and see what's there, and I will, I'll buy something that's been overly loved. It's a bit battered, but I don't mind. Where the CD does hold up, and why I think it isn't going to go anywhere, in the niche market that we are, this 12 to 15%, is the CD box set, which Cherry Red have championed with these 5 CD sets, which I've reviewed gallons of them on this channel. And I think, 5 albums or 6 albums in a little box with a booklet, and they nearly always come with a booklet. You can't beat it. You're not going to, it's just not cost effective to put together a box set that has 5 or 6 albums in. It just isn't going to happen. But for people who want to try introduce themselves to a band's back catalogue, these are great. Barclay James Harvest, Baby James Harvest, which I'm about to get the review out for. That wouldn't work as a vinyl set at all. I've also reviewed vinyl sets, I'll admit, because there are bands that, because of the CD age and because of money constraints, at that time, bands like Dokken and Winger, I never bought them the first time round. I eventually got them on CD. And so, again, this says a lot, doesn't it? I'm actually getting them on vinyl. Why is this? It just feels kind of like I would like to have those. So I have kind of swept around. And I'm just thinking of other things, like, again, this is about to come out on the channel review, the Gary Moore album. I have this on CD, but having it on album, it just feels, back to the blues, it just feels the right thing to do. And the only other one I want to use as an example is the Hawkwind one. It's his 10 CDs and a Blu-ray disc in a box with a book. This wouldn't work as a vinyl set. Some of you out there, you Hawkwind fanatics, will say, oh, yes, it would, but it would be hundreds of pounds. There's a new Camel box set coming out with, I think it's 30 discs in it. That would never work as a 30 vinyl album box. It would be hundreds of pounds. So for these career-defining introductions to bands, the CD box set wins. Nothing can touch it. But for single album releases, I think there's a real pull and a draw towards the vinyl album. And I'm looking at the vinyl sales for the last few weeks, and let's touch on something that we know in the UK is sold by the boatload. The new Kylie Minogue album. It's gone straight in at number one. It's sold about 20,000 CDs, but also about 20,000 vinyl albums. So we're neck and neck. And of course, for the marketing people, more money, obviously, the revenue was bigger, higher for the vinyl equivalent than it was, I imagine, for the CD. And I imagine also the packaging lent more towards a luxury item with the vinyl album than it did the CD. So the CD, I don't feel is going anywhere, but where I've said in the past that, CD is very popular, still very popular, and it's climbing and climbing. It isn't sinking anymore. Phil, you just said it had gone down by 6%. Yes, it has. Okay, it has. So it's in flux. It depends what's coming out. But I do strongly believe that the way the CD is presented is also working towards its potential drop further in physical sales. This is similar because I am old enough to remember that when vinyl was being forgotten about, because it was, when CD was everywhere and everybody wanted to push the CD, vinyl albums, the pressings were awful. The covers had very little information on them. The vinyl was thin. The records were actually too long for a single album, with up to half an hour of music on each side. They were noisy pressings. There was no information. There were no lyrics. Ironically, the CDs were getting the booklets and the extra tracks, etc. And so the CD just looked as if it was a more attractive, even though it was more money, which it was. Strangely enough, it was. But everybody wanted the CD. Now, the CDs are coming out with not really any extra tracks because everything has been designed for the vinyl format. So the new Paul Rodgers album is a perfect example. 15 minutes a side, so literally half an hour. Albums were that. Sounds great on vinyl. Obviously, it sounds fine on CD. But all of the effort is being put into the physical album. The vinyl album is being given all the love and attention, and that's obvious. So if those of you watching this who are in the industry, if you want to keep the CD kicking and living and give some life support, you have to give the format some love in how it's presented. There are many ways of doing this, and it's the reissue labels like Cherry Red and Cooking Vinyl with the booklets and some of the double packs, 2 CD sets. BGO Records are another one. Esoteric, obviously, are brilliant at this. Collectors love that. And I think you have to also realise, a few marketing people out there, we may be 12.5% to 15% of the overall market. I mean, the UK, and I imagine it's roughly the same around the world. I know there are other countries where physical music is higher, but where we are in the UK, you can't just see us as a small percentage because we generate hundreds of millions of pounds worth of revenue to the music business. But you have to remember that those of us who buy physical music are incredibly passionate about it. And so it isn't just like that'll do for those people over there in the corner who still buy this stuff. You've got to think about the package, the booklet, the photography, the design. We actually like new shiny things. We like to feel that love and attention, the paper stock, the card, the inventiveness of how you put it together actually makes us want to own it and buy it. Yes, it is about the music, but it's actually also about the other stuff. It's about the emotional attachment to the package and the item itself and the artist. To us, the physical music item, whether it's vinyl or CD, is a direct connection to the artist that creates that music and that art form. We are closer. We want to be closer to them. That's why the community is building around artists now with Instagram, or Facebook. It's because we want to be closer to them. The special editions, the signed autographs, all the extra stuff that comes with it, the extras, the extra bells and whistles that some of you say, well, why do you need all this stuff? Actually, for collectors, if I say the word collectors, it sounds like people who buy things, keep the cellophane on them because they're going to sell them one day. I don't think about that. I'm going to live forever. And many people like me do. We just love to support artists by buying the physical item. Vinyl, I'm not going to get too hung up on the prices of stuff. I don't like it if ripped off, and you know if you're being ripped off, it won't sell. I think it is tricky. You can't just keep putting the prices up because people are also paying for the electricity to play the record, that turn the record players and the CD players. You know, there's lots of compromises going on around the world and in various people's homes. But I understand that prices are also going up for everybody. Nothing has gone down, and musicians are still buying the same jars of coffee and paying electricity just the same as us. So they're not some kind of strange being that seem to have, they don't deserve to have pay rises either. They do. But I think the whole thing is a balance. So my thing behind this is that I am buying more vinyl. I am feeling myself drawn towards it, but primarily because the CD alternative seems to have had little love applied to it. It doesn't feel as special as it used to. And I think there's lots of people out there, and I see them in my music group, of which there are, a few thousand people in, actually buy both. But we've also got to be able to buy the tickets to go and see the bands when we want to see them play live as well. So it's a balance. So that's where we are. But let me know in the comments, have you changed in the way that you're consuming physical music? Are you, which is, I know there's people who are doing this, are you more likely to stream through your main hi-fi system and sit on the sofa with the vinyl album? I always thought this is probably what silent vinyl means, and every so often play the record, but the fact that you can do that, or are you still buying the CD and not even touching vinyl? Or have you changed and you're thinking you buy vinyl for a special item, a band or an album that means a lot to you emotionally, usually it's just CD? Or have you changed and just put everything on hold at the moment due to price increases, etc.? And do you also really still get excited about box sets, and are there some box sets you're really looking forward to? Because I do think that the future of the CD is in the box set. There's no other way of packaging stuff, like I said, that way. But vinyl albums, they've got lots of issues. They can get biffed and scratched, and there's quality control issues. How many of them go back? Where CDs, how often you get a faulty CD? Very slim. So there are lots of things to discuss here, but there's no doubt about it that as I looked at these numbers, that vinyl has, I'm going to go with their word, surged this year to double figures again. The CD has dipped a little bit, and physical music is flat, but it's not dropping. It's an important niche, and I've always said that we are a beautiful niche in the world of the music business and music lovers and collectors. We still love to, have music around and tangibly have it connected to our lives, as it is, of course, the soundtrack to them, very much so. So, as I always say, music is the healer and the doctor, and it certainly is, and we need to keep taking our medicine and getting this stuff. So take care, everybody, and please, if you can support me a bit more, if you like this video, you like what I do here, like, subscribe, share, ring that little bell, tell everyone you've ever met in your life, and I shall see you very soon on my next video.